God, it's so good. So good.
Hey guys, Yardy here with another Fraymakers video. For this one, we'll be covering 10 characters that I want to see playable at some point during Fraymakers development. Having 6 characters already announced and 3 soon to come thanks to the multiple stretch goals met on the Kickstarter, we got plenty of space for familiar faces. For each character, I'll look at 3 different things. First thing being their inclusion in other crossover titles similar to Fraymakers. Second thing will be potential movesets for the characters. Originally, I was going to do full movesets for all the characters, then I realized that would probably take a lot of time to do. So I cut it down. First 7 characters are going to be special moves, and the last 3 will be full movesets. Then lastly, I'll rate on a scale from 1 to 10 the likelihood of each character's inclusion. Before we jump into the list, I want to thank you guys so much for all the support in my last video. As you can see, it performed really well in comparison to any of the videos I've uploaded in the past. If you enjoy this video, make sure to drop it a like and subscribe to my channel if you aren't already. I do plan to do more Fraymakers content in the future. Enough about me though, let's talk about the list. You may be wondering, who's Brad Armstrong? Because the series he originates from is a bit lesser known than the rest of the games on this list. Brad is the protagonist and playable character of a game called Lisa the Painful. Lisa is a post-apocalyptic RPG developed by Dingling Productions and published on December 15th, 2014. Featuring turn-based combat similar to Earthbound and a 2D side-scrolling overworld, players find themselves forced to make choices that will permanently affect the rest of their playthrough. With a strong narrative and an antic sense of humor, Lisa is certain to be a life-ruining gaming experience. And I didn't just make that up, that's what the Lisa website says itself. As far as appearances and crossover titles go, Brad surprisingly was scheduled to appear in one. Indie Game Battle, a game we try not to talk about, lists Brad on the playable characters page. Although planned, he never actually made an appearance due to the developers ditching the game's development. Coming from an RPG, Brad has plenty of moves to design a moveset around. For his special moves, I settled on these 4. Neutral special would be Brad's Fireball attack. This move would function similar to Lucaria's Aura Sphere, where it is chargeable. In Brad's case, though, the Fireball would have 4 different levels of strength, similar to how the Fireball functions in Lisa. Forward special would let Brad pull out his child's bicycle to ride. This would function very similar to Warrior's motorcycle in Smash. Down special puts Brad into a sturdy horse stance. In Lisa, the horse stance increases SP, more easily described as mana. In Fraymakers, though, not having to worry about SP, horse stance could function more as a strength increase for Brad's next attack. And lastly, up special could be the legendary Endless Rope. This could be a tether recovery similar to those of the Smash series. If McLeod Gaming wants to get a little crazy, they'll make it tether from anywhere on the map. Even though Lisa is a very polished and well-received game with overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, how likely would Brad Armstrong be to make a playable appearance? Well, unfortunately, I'd have to put him at a solid 0 out of 10. With Fraymakers featuring far fewer playable characters than assists, I think the developers will aim for better-known indie names to fill the rest of the playable cast. Brad's just a little fish in a big, big, big ocean. If you haven't heard of Hat Kid, she comes from the game A Hat in Time. Similarly to Fraymakers, A Hat in Time began its journey on Kickstarter. By the end of its campaign, the 3D platformer had amassed nearly $300,000 and a cult following. The gameplay of A Hat in Time has players collecting various items, solving puzzles, and beating the snot out of people with an umbrella. One of the core mechanics of this game is being able to stitch together different hats, each hat giving a new ability to Hat Kid. Even with the popularity of A Hat in Time, Hat Kid doesn't appear to have any other cameos and titles from the research I've done. This could be due to the developers not wanting Hat Kid to be used in other titles, or because the opportunity to feature Hat Kid in different titles has never been presented. More likely the latter of the two. For her special attacks, she'll put her umbrella and various hats to good use. The neutral special will equip the Brewing Hat, resulting in random potions being thrown forward in an arc. This could be comparable to the neutral special of Mr. Game & Watch from Smash, but with a little bit less randomness. Side special is a chargeable but non-storable beam shot. The projectile badge in A Hat in Time allows Hat Kid to charge her umbrella to 3 different levels. Upon release, this will fire a beam out of the umbrella's tip. Down special will equip the Ice Hat, turning Hat Kid into a statue of ice. Very similar to Kirby's Down special, this attack will cause Hat Kid to fast fall downwards, and upon landing on stage, the ice will shatter, stunning any opponents nearby for a short period. Then for her last move, Up special, Hat Kid will perform her iconic homing attack in the direction input after the button press. If at any point during this move Hat Kid comes in contact with an enemy, she will bounce off upwards and force the opponent downwards if they're ungrounded. Now this time I promise you I'm not telling you all about a character that has really low chances of getting into the game similar to Brad. I actually believe Hat Kid has a very strong chance of making it into Fraymakers as a playable character, so I would have to give her a 6 out of 10 likelihood. As a bonus of her inclusion, it also increases the number of female representatives, which can always be very difficult in crossover titles as we've seen with Smash. But hey, either way, good job, kid. Does this man or cup really need an introduction? You know him, you love him, it's Cuphead. If you haven't heard of the run and gun game from 2017 called Cuphead, you're definitely a goblin living under a rock. With audio and visuals inspired by cartoons of the 1930s, Cuphead caught the love of many. As you'd expect, Cuphead is the protagonist of the game called Cuphead. I know, it's kinda crazy. As the player traverses the world battling boss after boss, new weapons, super moves, and secrets are to be discovered. Coming hot from the play of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as a Mii Gunner costume, this is the only crossover Cuphead has in other fighting games. With several different finger shots to choose from, Cuphead could sport a similar moveset to Shulk and Smash. Pressing down special will switch between the pea shooter shot, roundabout shot, and lobber shot. His neutral special would allow him to shoot whichever bullet he has currently equipped, and as long as the button is held, he can move and shoot in the direction input. Side special would also play off of whichever bullet is currently selected. Inside the game Cuphead, each shot has its own unique EX move that can be used after dealing enough damage to enemies. Same mechanic would carry over into Fraymakers, where the more damage you deal to an enemy, the more meter you build, allowing you to then use your side special. And then finally, for his up special, we would see Cuphead taking control of his plane, allowing him to move in any direction of his choosing for a couple seconds. After seeing Cuphead as only a costume in Smash, many fans are still waiting for the day that Cuphead gets his playable platform fighter debut. His likelihood for being included is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. I believe this little cup man will finally find his platform fighter home in Fraymakers. Isaac. No, not that one. No. This guy. Yeah, this little crybaby. This guy right here. One of, if not the most influential roguelikes of all time, The Binding of Isaac is one of the highest earning indie series in existence. Developed by Edmund McMillan, the same genius behind another indie character we love, Meat Boy, Isaac released originally in 2011. The gameplay of Isaac pits players against a wide array of enemies using Isaac's tears to dish out damage. With procedurally generated levels and loot, each run will unfold in an entirely different way every time. Isaac appears in both the 2D crossover fighting game Blade Strangers and competitive puzzler Crystal Crisis. All the Binding of Isaac titles and DLC include a massive 547 items to be acquired. This allows so many different potential movesets within Fraymakers. It was a bit difficult to settle on just 4 for his special moves, but here they are. Similar to Cuphead, I gave Isaac a tier switch special for his neutral special. The player would be able to swap between regular, pea, booger, and blood tiers. I know it sounds kind of weird if you've never played The Binding of Isaac, but trust me, this is just how the game is, man. Each type of tier would have different rates of fire, travel speed, and damage. This gimmick would only work well if a lot of Isaac's normals are designed to be tier shots as well. Side special will use the item Death's Touch. Isaac would send a scythe in front of him, similar to how Simon's Cross works in Smash. Down special would be a simple bomb drop that leaves a bomb below Isaac. This bomb would be unique as it does not get picked up and instead only moves when coming in contact with a player or another attack. And then finally for up special, Isaac would bring forth the Bible, giving him angel wings and flight similarly to how it functions in his own game. Coming from a game all about chances, what are the chances that this bald baby makes it in the Fraymakers? With his appearance in other titles and the developer himself stating that he would love to see Isaac in Fraymakers, I'd have to give Isaac a clean 10 out of 10. Man, people really want Shantae to be in Smash, huh? But who really needs Smash anymore when you could just join Fraymakers instead? The Shantae series first made an appearance on the Game Boy Color way back in 2002. Since then, there have been 4 additional Shantae games spread across the DSi, 3DS, Xbox One, Switch, PS5, and PC. Throughout the series, players will explore Scuttletown and surrounding areas while defeating enemies with several magic abilities. These magic abilities are the basis of Shantae's special moves, with her first being a neutral special Fireball. When charged, 2 additional fireballs will be added to the shot in a vertical stack similar to this. Then for her side special and up special, Shantae will put her transformations to use. Side special fires Shantae horizontally in a monkey bullet attack. Then for up special, Shantae would turn into her harpy transformation, giving her 3 flaps of her wings to help her recover. And lastly, for down special, Shantae will use a Storm Puff to summon a powerful storm cloud that will cast lightning below. The summon would only last for a couple lightning strikes before dissipating. And then for guest appearances, the only one that I could really find was her inclusion as a spirit in Smash Ultimate. Shantae's long history of almost 2 decades has pulled quite a dedicated fan following, and for a lot of these fans, they really want Shantae to be the indie rep featured in Smash. Although she's iconic, I give Shantae an 8 out of 10 chance of being playable in Fraymakers due solely to the fact that I believe many other modern characters to be more familiar with gamers. If McLeod Gaming does opt to include Shantae, the dreams of so many fans will finally be fulfilled. Madeline comes from the newest game out of all the ones talked about today, Celeste. Released in January of 2018, Celeste was received quite well for its tight platforming and strong narrative. The player controls Madeline as she is tasked with reaching the top of Mount Celeste. In order to get to the top, she'll have to jump, air dash, and climb through over 700 platforming challenges, unlocking secrets and new abilities along the way. As for crossovers, Madeline appears as a playable character in the Switch version of Towerfall Ascension. This doesn't really provide us with very much info as Towerfall is developed by the same company that made Celeste. Coming from a game all about quick and precise movements, I would expect Madeline to bring along those qualities into Fraymakers, and with air dashing being so important throughout Celeste, I felt it was only appropriate to include it as one of her specials. Side special will cause Madeline to quickly dash forward, allowing for quick repositioning and fast follow-ups. Although Celeste is a fast-paced game most of the time, there's moments where Madeline does get overwhelmed and has to slow things down a bit. A fellow mountaineer teaches Madeline a feather breathing trick. Down special would make the same feather and box prompt appear like it does in Celeste, and when pressing the down special, the feather would rise. By successfully keeping the feather in the box, Madeline would gradually heal in small amounts. Neutral special takes inspiration from the collectible strawberries found throughout the chapters of Celeste. Holding down the neutral special will allow the player to control where the strawberry is placed. If the button is pressed again, Madeline will launch herself in the direction of the strawberry. Make sure to use it quick though, because after a short period of inactivity, the strawberry will fly off on its own. Then for the last special, we'll bring in Madeline's pragmatic half, Badeline, to support her. When up special is pressed, Badeline will toss Madeline straight up, bashing aside anyone in her way. Unlike any characters mentioned on this list, Madeline's inclusion will bring along with her representation for the LGBTQ+ community. The creator and developer of Celeste confirmed earlier in 2020 that canonically, Madeline is transgender. Being a character that fans love, coming from a game that fans also love, I'd say the chances for Madeline to be playable are a solid 8 out of 10. But until we know, just keep on breathing. When trying to think of indie icons for Fraymakers, I can confidently say that I'm not the only one thinking about the Knight from Hollow Knight. After thinking about it for a bit, I decided to go with the character Hornet from the series instead. Although Hollow Knight Silksong does not have a release date yet, its release will likely fall close to that of Fraymakers, making it a great cross-promotion opportunity for both companies. And I also feel like it'd be kinda neat to go against the expected representative of a series. For those that may not know, Hollow Knight is a 2D Metroidvania game where the player plays as a nameless knight, commonly referred to as the Knight. While traversing the kingdom called Hollow Nest, you'll be put face to face in melee combat against hostile bugs and other creatures. Hornet appears as a boss in the first Hollow Knight game, but is set to appear as the protagonist of the sequel called Hollow Knight Silksong. Inspiration for her special moves come from her multiple boss encounters throughout Hollow Knight. For her side special, she'll throw forward her needle and await its return, hurting any enemies that come in contact with it during the process. Neutral special will be Hornet's iconic Gossamer Storm. A flurry of attacks will be unleashed around her in a slower but powerful attack. Like many of the other sword wielders of platform fighters, Hornet's down special will be her parry. If an opponent does hit the parry, Hornet will unleash a wide range counter slash. Then finally, for her up special, Hornet would leap vertically with a slight arc like she does in her boss battles. This move would be fast, but a bit shorter than other recoveries in the game, presenting a bit of a weak spot for her kit. With over 110,000 reviews on Steam alone, Hollow Knight is a huge indie success. Rating the likelihood of Hornet, I would say she has a 7 out of 10 chance of being playable. My only reasoning for not giving her a 10 out of 10 is because I believe the Knight will likely be the representative of the Hollow Knight series if one is to be added. Or how about we just reach even further and make this guy playable instead? Alright, cut the music. Who let this guy on the list? Wasn't he just in Smash's Mii Fighter costume? Isn't that enough, guys? Isn't that already enough? You really think I'm gonna sit here and waste everyone's time and cover Sans? San the fucking man. Megalovania funny guy. Don't worry, I'll make this fast. 11 out of 10. Actually, the truth is that I've never played Undertale before, and there's like a million concept videos from Sans already on YouTube, so go give one of those a watch instead. But I think he has a high chance, boys. I really do. Keep your hopes up. My personal most wanted indie rep in Fraymakers will have to fight tooth and nail through spiders, snakes, moles, and cavemen to reach the podium. This guy. No, like his name's actually Guy. Fellas, it's Guy Spelunky from Spelunky. Originally developed as a freeware game in 2008, Spelunky tasks players with traversing a 2D roguelite world riddled with secrets, treasure, and danger. Later in 2012, Spelunky would see an HD release on the Xbox 360, with the main focus being to improve the player's own skill to progress further. Spelunky's reception was generally positive. Spelunky is personally my favorite game of all time, and I'd love to see Guy make an appearance in a platform fighter as he never has in the past. Although Spelunky does not feature nearly as many weapons as a game like The Binding of Isaac, there are still so many potential movesets that could be made for Guy. I know I promised the last 3 to have full movesets, and I didn't really do that with Sans, but for this guy, I definitely will. But in order to save some time, I'm going to put a graphic on the screen that displays his full moveset all at once. I thought it would be interesting for Guy to utilize a different weapon in every single one of his attacks that are obtainable throughout a Spelunky run. So in this case, his jab, tilts, and dash attack will use his whip, machete, bear trap, bow, and metal shield. Smash attacks will put the shotgun, mine, and boomerang to use. Aerials will be the Chris Knife, Matic, Spike Boots, Freeze Ray, and Torch. Then lastly, for his special moves, the camera, Anubis Scepter, Bomb, and Jetpack. I'm not going to go any deeper with this moveset because most of these weapons would function pretty much exactly as you'd expect them to. With a creator known for his love of games, Guy would fit right at home alongside the rest of the Fraymakers cast. For his likelihood of inclusion, even though he's my top pick, I settled on a lower score of 6 out of 10. Although Spelunky is a crucial pillar for indie game development, its gameplay overshadows the characters, making Guy a bit less iconic on top of his already basic character design. Good luck, Guy. Sitting upon the throne at the top of this list, the peepaw of all indies, you may not know this guy, and that's alright. He doesn't really get the spotlight too often with the young whippersnappers these days. We have Quote from Cave Story. Aging back beyond even probably some of you watching this right now, Cave Story released on December 20th, 2004 for Microsoft Windows. Developed by one man on his free time over the course of 5 years, Cave Story didn't have the funding or manpower like many of the other games of its time. The 2D Metroidvania platform adventure game featured a compelling story, setting, characters, and gameplay. Revolving around the robot protagonist named Quote, players blast their way through cavernous areas in an attempt to figure out his backstory and escape the cave. With later versions being developed and published by the same company that would later handle The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, Quote makes appearances alongside Isaac in both Blade Strangers and Crystal Crisis. Those aren't the only two though, as Quote has more cameos and references than any other character on this list. Before talking about a moveset, let's look at a unique attribute for Quote, the experience gauge. Quote's XP gauge will increase after dealing damage to opponents, and then it will decrease after receiving damage. After accumulating enough XP, the gauge will increase in level, giving Quote more damage and knockback, with the max level being level 3. This attribute would be unique from the rest of the cast and give Quote a snowballing playstyle. Instead of listing specific examples of moves for Quote, instead let's look at the weapons available to him throughout Cave Story. Quote's entire arsenal consists of guns and projectiles. This means Quote would likely end up being a zoner type character if he was added. Starting from left to the right, we have the Polar Star, Missile Launcher, Fireball, Bubline, Machine Gun, and his Blade. In Blade Strangers, Quote is seen using his blade as a melee weapon instead of throwing it like he does in his home title. Fraymakers would likely see him doing the same kind of thing with his jab, dash attack, and tilts. As for the rest of his weapons and moves, the developers could make similarly functioning attacks to those from Samus, Mega Man, and Mii Gunner. One move that is pretty easy to assume though is his up special. In Cave Story, Quote acquires boosters that function as a jetpack, allowing Quote to move both vertically and horizontally at high speeds. Quote was one of the first indie characters to break into the spotlight, and his influence is still seen to this day. His likelihood of making it into the Smash Bros. Of indie characters is easily a 1 billion out of 10. Thanks for watching my video. It took a lot longer than I expected it to. Leave a comment down below for any characters that you would like to see in the game whenever it releases. If you enjoyed the video, also make sure to leave it a like and subscribe to my channel for future content. My goal this year is to focus on YouTube more than I ever have in the past. Some videos will be Fraymakers focused, but a majority of them will likely be other ideas that I've been wanting to do for a while. You'll also be able to find me over at twitch.tv/YardyHardy, where I stream about 4 days a week. If you want to, go drop me a follow over there. It's always appreciated. And again, I just want to say one last big thank you to everybody that watched, commented, liked, and subscribed for my last video. It really did outperform anything I've done in the past, and it's just a great feeling to have something you put that much effort into finally pay off. And as always, drive safe, pull over if you get tired, call me when you get home, and see ya.